Many, many thanks to everybody coming today. We know it's a terrible weather, but mashallah, we've got a full house here today. And we've got to thank the opening work shown over there. I know we had a bit of technical issues, but we got there in the end anyway. I'm going to thank all the speakers that have managed to come. They've come from all the way from London. We've got Derby here as well. We've got Coventry as well. We've got Bradford here as well. And we've got local activists here as well. So start with, we've got lovely Louise Scrivens here, who's the local activist from Borsalith. We've got Dr. Rehiana here all the way from Bradford as well. We've got brother Ousman Noor, who's a local person, by the way, as well, from Manor Aston. We've got Mr. Chris Williamson as well, all the way from Derby. And we've got Shahd Karaeen, all the way from Coventry. And we've got Sister Yael Kahn, all the way from London. So give them a round of applause who came down here. And we also got to give a shout out to brother Carlos, who's live streaming currently at the moment as well. So give him a big round of applause. We've got Press TV in here as well. So many thanks for Press TV. And we've got the Workers' Party here as well, who are actually recording the event as well. So many, many thanks, and give yourselves a clap as well. Thank you very much for everyone coming. MashaAllah, it's the full house today. Who am I? I'm Danny. I'm from the Activist Independent Movement. If you don't know much about Activist Independent Movement, it's an independent organization led by Muslims, but it's exclusive to everybody. Now, at the same time, many of you know we do the Palestine demonstrations. We've been consistently doing it since last October, when the first year of genocide happened, and we did the march from Smallheath Park. And from there on, we continued marching, and we've done roughly about, I think, 7 marches. We've got an 8th one coming up on Saturday, the 18th of October. We'll tell you a bit more about that as well. Now, we wanted to do something different besides marching. We have many, many speakers that come to our demonstrations. Sister Yael Kahn's been here before. Brother Chris Williamson's been here before. Ousman Noor's been here before. And Dr. Rehiana's been here before. But 5 minutes is never enough. So today, they all have 15 minutes each to speak. You're all going to be on the clocks, by the way. So they got 15 minutes to speak, but at the same time as well, just to let you know, the discussion is in relation towards One State Palestine. We did ask for the 2-state solution team. We put it out there for them to come down. Unfortunately, nobody's no show. Have a look around behind the chairs or in the bag somewhere. They might be here, but they didn't come. We did approach Mr. Jeremy Corbyn, but apparently they were busy. The office said, Zara Sultana, we did approach Zara Sultana, we had nothing from the office. So we did try from our point, and we thank everybody who's come here today. And it is a pleasure to be having this first event. We'll be having another event next week as well. That will be on the Sunday the 21st of September, which is going to be in relation towards military intervention. We do have some leaflets, we'll give them at the end as well. Now, I'm going to start off. Where do I start? Right. Abu Jenin is not here. He was meant to start. So you can't start any event without a Palestinian. So we're going to ask Sister Shahd, who's going to read out her poetry, and is also going to explain where she's from, what she does, why she does what she does, and also talk about One State Palestine. So I'll give a round of applause for Sister Shahd, all the way from Coventry. Free, 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 from the river to the sea. Palestine, free, free. MashaAllah.
Hello, everyone. It's wonderful being here today, honestly. It just feels like a family reunion, but with a purpose. So, my name is Shahd Karaeen. I don't know where to start from, but I will tell you this. I am from Jerusalem, Palestine, Silwan. This is very close to my heart because I have lived oppression. I know how it feels to live in a country where you don't belong. I really struggled with my identity. We had battles, and I saw my father fight for the Palestinian cause for many, many years, and I guess it's in my blood. So I have a purpose. My purpose is to fight for my people because I'm able to do so, but unfortunately from here. I can't do it from home, so my people need me. So I will represent them, and that's an honor for me. Do you want me to share a poem now? To be honest, this is a new poem. It's called I'm angry, right? We are all angry. I am angry at the world. I am angry at its silence. I am angry at the bombs that never stop. I am angry at the cameras that turn away. I cry as I watch Palestine, Sudan, Congo, names ignored, carved into stones and blood. I am angry at the leaders not giving a damn. Angry at their lies. They approved genocide. I am angry for the mothers burying their babies. Skeletons starved to death, not having a chance to grow. I am angry watching mouths starved, broken bodies, scattered limbs beneath the rubble. I am angry at those who survived, not because I wish them death. Surviving is another form of pain the world refuses to see. I am angry. I am numb. I am so numb. I'm screaming inside. I am angry. Thank you. So, thank you. I'm sitting here. I want to share with you, not only from my perspective, what is the future for Palestine. I got in touch with, I'm not going to say who because they're back home, just in case they get in trouble. Let's say friends. And they told me what's the future for Palestine. And this is their voices, right? Their voices. So they believe, this is from West Bank and East Jerusalem. The first step is ending the war on Gaza. No more displacement of its people. No more forced exile. Gaza must be rebuilt with international financial support under proper international supervision and accountability. Settlement expansion must stop, and the illegal occupation must come to an end. Another crucial step is removing the far-right extremists from the Israeli government and stripping them of the power they have used to fuel this brutal war on Gaza and the West Bank. Their agenda is one of expansion, settlement, displacement, and the siege of Palestinian land. It is also about revenge and forced displacement, just as we saw in the first Nakba of 1948 and again in 1967. These extremists openly chant a racist slogan, "Death to Arabs," encouraged by a government that has armed its citizens under the excuse of self-defense. Meanwhile, Palestinians who try to defend their homes and their legitimate rights are criminalized, denied the right to bear arms, labeled as terrorists, and confined in their towns behind checkpoints, electronic gates. They are prevented from working, from visiting family, and even from accessing medical care. This oppression reaches every aspect of their life. From Jerusalem to every other region, families are crushed under impossible fines. their homes demolished under the excuse of no permit, even though permits themselves cost huge unrealistic sums. Taxes are raised on everything, pushing people further into despair. So this is their questions back home to you all. So the questions we must ask are these. Can there ever be genuine coexistence between Palestinians and Israelis under such conditions? Can there be equality in rights, freedom, and dignity? And will Palestinian factions finally unite for a free homeland and for dignified life and for peace? Because real peace will only begin with unity among Palestinians themselves, without division, without labels. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sister Shahd. Round of applause for Sister Shahd. Beautiful poetry. Now our next speaker is lovely Sister Dr. Rehiana, who actually went to a case, where they tried to do her for anti-Semitism. They tried to suspend her license as well. MashaAllah, she won a case, and she fought a case on her own as well. So give her a round of applause for winning the case as well. It's a shame. It's a shame that she didn't get the support that we do need to support activists and doctors who are speaking out against what's happening in Palestine. Another sister of ours who's a Palestinian couldn't be here today. She's Palestinian Jordanian, you know her, Dr. Rahma Al-Dawan. Unfortunately, they're trying to suspend her license as well. There will, is it going to be a hearing, yeah? It is going to be a hearing, so she will need our support in the future as well. So if you can go Manchester, we'll let you know, full activist independent movement, because she will, and these doctors will need our support. So give a round of applause to Dr. Rehiana, all the way from Bradford.
So I want to thank the activist independent movement for inviting me to speak on this issue, a proper discussion of which is long overdue. Now, having said that, what this will always be is just that, a discussion. Because actually the decision about the future of Palestine will need to be taken by the Palestinian people, i.e. the Palestinian resistance, without reference to us. That doesn't mean, however, we're not entitled to an opinion. So what I hope to do is to set out my stall as a Muslim, as someone with Pakistani Kashmiri heritage, and as someone who has always supported Palestine as a UK citizen. So who am I? Well, I'll give a brief introduction, as many of you won't know me. I'm a consultant neurologist, and I'm not someone who expected to ever be billed as an activist, let alone as what I'm being called these days. So the Nazi, the Holocaust denier, and of course the most ridiculous of all, the anti-Semite. Now these terms mean absolutely nothing. For me personally, I expected not to be in any public profile. I expected to be at the side of my brother Farouk, who was a patriotic Pakistani Kashmiri. And it's not hyperbole to say that had he not been assassinated in March 2022 in a 4-star international hotel called Ramada by Wyndham in Islamabad, you'd have all heard of his name by now, I guarantee you that. I believe MI6 were involved, and when there's MI6, expect Mossad. The relevance to Palestine? Well, my brother was speaking on Palestine when he was a student at Imperial College London. He was speaking on forums about Palestine, about the Hasbara, about Freemasonry, and he knew about blacklisting long before it entered common parlance in mainstream. In fact, Farouk actually knew, and there's not many Kashmiris here today, I think there's some, that the occupation of Kashmir is intertwined with that of Palestine. In fact, Kashmir actually has a longer military occupation than even that of Palestine, but there's a complete media blackout. And he wrote an article entitled A Tale of Two Nations. So I would argue that the Kashmiri diaspora in the UK has a duty to play its part in the liberation of Palestine. Because, firstly, we are human, we are Muslim, but even if you refuse to act on these two principles alone, then remember that Kashmir is next, and the blueprint of what Netanyahu and the Israelis are doing to Palestinians is that will happen in Indian-occupied Kashmir. So since then, we have been battling the Pakistani system. When I say that, read British, in Pakistan, with the case now back in the High Court. Needless to say that no mainstream media, and in fact even alternative media, wouldn't cover this for the large part. I never had a social media presence prior to my brother being assassinated. So when October the 7th happened, when Hamas broke that illegal 17-year siege on Gaza, it was not really something I could stay silent about. In fact, if anything, seeing the mass slaughter and indignity subjected, to which the Palestinians were subjected, was a constant reminder of my own brother's murder. The silence of the politicians on Palestine, including the many Muslim ones, led to me standing in the Bradford South parliamentary elections last year as an independent, and within 5 weeks I gained 10.1%. Now that 0.1% is very important. Now Labour won that seat thanks to the Muslim vote. I believe that I had the strongest election manifesto of any parliamentary candidate in the UK for one very simple reason. If I was going to enter that dirty political arena, I would do it on my terms. An end to the Holocaust in Palestine, an end to usury, a form of financial enslavement, and the banning of the Israeli lobby in the UK, which explains why the UK supports that fake terrorist construct called Israel. In other words, I don't believe in compromise when you have these non-negotiable principles. And it's that compromise that's always been demanded of the Palestinian people. That refusal to speak meekly, to refuse to speak the language of the oppressor, meant I was attacked viciously by the Israeli lobby in the UK, leading to an 18-month suspension that was revoked in July after 7 months. I've taken the GMC to the High Court. The judge is now refusing to give me a judgment. The Thwabot is about bringing back the charter that was effectively scrapped, because it's a scrapping of history that's tantamount to erasing the Palestinian story. When that happens, what's left is just a narrative of the so-called Jewish state and its defenders in whatever form they come, i.e. divided Palestine and a disputed territory since 1967. So to summarize, the Thwabot formulated by the Palestinian National Council of the PLO in 1977 represents the core issues of national consensus on the so-called Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and it's to which all Palestinian factions pledged loyalty. Those core issues were the right to resistance, including armed struggle, the right to self-determination, statehood, i.e. a Palestine from the river to the sea, Jerusalem as the capital of Palestine. Fourthly, the right of Palestinian refugees to return to their homes and lands in what is occupied Palestine. It's a temporary construct called Israel currently. And no normalization with the occupier or its occupiers. So I recall reading an article by Dr. Samar Jabbar, who's a physician in the West Bank, and she published it in the Palestine Chronicle. And she wrote, well, the excessive use of the Thwabot in media and political discourse has not strengthened them, it's rendered them meaningless in practice. She stated that the right to resistance was a vague and elastic concept. Did it refer to non-violent resistance, armed struggle, or both? Did it justify individual operations, or was it only organized movements? And she said the interpretation varied depending on someone's political stance. Perhaps so, but the Thwabot was always clear that it meant armed struggle. She talked about the right of return and said that people, behind closed doors, leaders were discussing creative solutions such as resettlement and compensation. and others just dismiss the right of return as being impractical. Even in regards to Jerusalem as the capital of Palestine, yet there were Palestinian so-called leaders meeting Israeli officials in the capital of Jerusalem, as if acknowledging that occupation to be an unspoken reality. Now, she has a point that Thawabit could be used as mere empty slogans. But I'd argue that the core principles are essential to keep the movement honest. Any compromise, as made by the Oslo Accords, represents a treachery to the Palestinian liberation, and it should be rejected. Now, there have been innumerable compromises by Palestinians over decades, but the West, occupied by the Israeli lobby, will never be a fair arbiter. It's that background of failed concessions and betrayal that I argue that the only way forward is through armed struggle. Peace, as defined by the Israelis and their supporters, has never worked. To still peddle otherwise is madness. The two-state solution was never serious, certainly not by Israel. It has used that time to encroach on more Palestinian land, is attempted to disarm resistance in the West Bank via its proxies, the Palestinian Authority, and its normalized relations with the neighboring Arab countries, which have been a source of support for the Palestinian people. Peace has been anything but. I'd argue that in some respects, particularly with the infiltration and the advancement in technology, that further concessions will be the death knell of the Palestinian cause. So it's now or never. So I think on this panel we'd all agree that it's one state Palestine, but what's the meaning of this one state Palestine? And I think that this one state Palestine needs to be true to the Thawabit principles. That means one state, 1948 borders, and the settlers go home. Home can be the original European country. It can be any other country that wants them. That's their risk. But home is not Palestine.
Yes.
Now, when one says this, and maybe that's why they call me an anti-Semite, ridiculously, there's the usual outcry. But what about the Jews? Well, firstly, it's not only Jews that will need to go home. There are Indians and there are Thai workers, but yes, by far the majority will be Jews. The only Jews excluded in what I have just said should be the ones who were originally living there, in Palestine, and they formed about 2.4% of the population, well before the first Aliyah began in approximately 1880. And I would say this, why are people so hell-bent on prioritizing the feelings of the occupiers? Especially Jewish ones. It really beggars belief that even after 23 months of a Holocaust being live streamed, the first thought is, but what about the Jews? Yes. Why? I actually don't care. That's not actually a call to harm. It's if they had sense, they'd leave. They'll ultimately have to leave. So they are putting themselves in harm's way. I have no sympathy for occupiers. I care not that they may have lived there for a couple of generations. That land belonged to a Palestinian. Theft doesn't ever become legal. And if there are Israelis who claim they're humanitarian, well, they should lead by example. There will be those who argue that this is unrealistic or it lacks realpolitik. Actually, it's the only moral position to have. The way of trying to normalize didn't work. I do not wish more suffering, but after all we've seen, it's actually repugnant to me to argue that the very same occupiers should stay. People talk of needing to de-Zionize. What does that actually mean? How will you do it? Where's your blueprint of it working? If you mean by de-Zionize, the settlers go home, I agree with you. But if you mean something else, then you haven't got a blueprint that it ever works. Because there's no answer so far to that question. What do you mean by de-Zionize? I'm not sure it's possible to de-radicalize Jewish extremists in a time frame that's acceptable. The behavioral modification of genocidal maniacs, as I've seen them for the most part, is not the problem for the Palestinian people. Let's be real. How many of you would live next to someone who shot a bullet in your child's head, in your child's heart, raped your sister or your mother at a checkpoint? Can we just end the hypocrisy? The idea that these people, driven by their belief in being chosen, would suddenly become good neighbors lacks credibility. If that point is accepted, then it follows they leave. They're forced to leave and they go home. The Palestinians, especially in Gaza, have been steadfast. It is us who have not been steadfast. It is us who have betrayed by legitimizing normalization. What we need to do is to support the Thawabit. That means we support their inalienable right to their land, the right of the Palestinian diaspora to return, and importantly, their armed struggle against occupation. Now, practically, it means we make sure we don't cower in the face of state repression in our respective countries by condemning their resistance. I will never condemn Palestinian resistance. I will never condemn armed struggle. I will never condemn Hamas. I will never condemn October the 7th. It means boycott of all things Israeli, products, services, artists, sports, academics, etc. There should be a complete ban on all things Israeli. In fact, the only good Israeli should be an ex-Israeli. So my stance is clear and is uncompromising, and it will be the stance of the new party I'm setting up. The stance is this, it's very simple. One State Palestine, 1948, and the settlers go home.
Wow. Round of applause for Dr. Rehiana. Thank you very much. Now we're going to continue with this for a few more speakers, and then we will take a slight short break, okay? And next activist I want to introduce to yourselves is Louise Scrivens. She's a local activist, so make a round of applause for Sister Louise Scrivens, please, yes? See, we'll let all the ladies go first.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to speak. I'm here with my Quaker t-shirt on. I am a Quaker, but I don't speak for the Quaker body. Let's just be clear about that. They may have different opinions to mine. But as a Quaker, we have a testimony of peace, and we work towards peace and reconciliation. We've sent for a long number of years people, ecumenical accompaniment of people, and these people that go out and accompany people through checkpoints in Palestine. We have seen firsthand the oppression that people live under, and we have also opened up a school, Ramallah, that has been attacked in recent days as well. Now, I have been campaigning against arms fairs for a long time, but in 2017 was my first one where I went down there with a Quaker hat on and to the arms fair that's happening that happened last week in London, EdXL. And then we had an arms fair set up in Telford 2 years ago, and we also campaigned there, and I got arrested there and prosecuted. Now, a lot of the stuff that was sold down in London at the arms fair is by Elbit Systems and some of the other Israeli companies that are in our country, and they're making these armaments on our soil and then shipping them out and using them against the Palestinians. And as a Quaker, that is unconscionable to my conscience. So we have been campaigning against that, and we have blocked up the arms fair and stopped people going in, and we have, I don't know whether you've seen the news, but there were people there stopping people going into the arms fair. This surveillance equipment will be coming here, and it's already being used. It was used at the on the 6th of September at the protest in London, where people sat down holding the placard saying, "I oppose genocide, I support Palestinian action," and were arrested. The first people that were arrested were people that were already on bail for previous. How did they know that these people were the ones that they want to arrest? I don't think that they had, police, all the same police there saying, "Oh yeah, I arrested that one last time." It doesn't work like that, does it? There were people there with surveillance equipment using facial recognition to target these people and take them out of the crowd. And I know because I sat next to one when I was demonstrating as well. And so that's what's been happening. Now, the reason that I believe in direct action, direct peaceful action, is because we've seen it work in the past. We saw it work with the suffragettes, we saw it work in India with the SALT protests, we saw it work in South Africa, and we know also that the reason why South Africa fell for a large part was the BDS movement that we had going on against South Africa. So, and as a direct action protester, I would say that there was a lot of support on the ground. So people don't have to be arrested to take action against the government. You can be there as a witness, and we had lots of people from the march come out and support us as witnesses, and you saw lots of live streaming going on at the time. Then there's police station support, where people who've been arrested get taken to a police station, they get charged, they get put in a cell. Well, they might not get charged, because I didn't get charged. But they get put into a cell, and then when they're released somewhere that they don't particularly know in some police. So I was sent to Barking, and so I was released from Barking at 8 o'clock in the morning. And outside the police station, sat in the reception area, is 3 police station support people. They are a godsend, because they greet you as you come out, tell you what hero you are. We're not heroes. We spent 12 hours being marched around by the police. People have spent 2 years being harassed from one safe space to another in Gaza. What we did was really inconsequential when you take that into consideration. And actually, I would say it was a privilege to be able to show in some small way my support for them by standing up in this country and making my government, hopefully, but we know they're not, listen to us. Anyway, so there's going to be another one. And all the information is on a website called Defend Our Juries. And there's lots of information on there about how you can sign up, what you can do. And I can't really explain that, because I could be arrested under Section 12 rather than Section 13 of the Terrorism Act. We have to be careful what we say these days. But our free speech is that much impinged that we can't even talk about supporting groups that are trying to disarm and stop weapons being taken to be used against a people in a genocide, when our government won't acknowledge that there's a genocide going on, because the minute they do, they are liable under international law and they can end up in The Hague. But I think that they should be in The Hague anyway, because there is all but name, it is a genocide, and we are still shipping things, armaments over there. Now, in solidarity in Spain, the dock workers are refusing to load armaments onto ships going to Israel. And I say that I would like, and the TUC in this country has already passed motion at saying that they support Palestine, and I can't remember I should have brought my notes. Anyway, basically what I'm saying is there's lots of ways to be activists without being arrested, and we, the people, we have the power. There's more of us than there is of them. And if we actually all work together cooperatively, rather than saying this is the right way or that is the right way, there's lots of ways of protesting. There's lots of ways of being difficult. There's lots of ways of putting grit in the wheel of the industry to make people listen, make the people who've got the money listen to us. If we down our tools, nothing gets produced and nobody gets any weapons. You know, we need to stand up and unite as a people, and just say enough is enough. Anyway, I've talked for long enough. Yes. People, we are people and we have the power.
Right, everyone, thank you very much for Louise Scrivens, okay? BDS is very important, and we have to take peaceful, direct action, which is very important. That's what people don't get locked up. We have to be very careful, you know. It's live streaming at the moment, but you know what I mean. But and anyway, yeah, we're moving on forward. One more speaker, and then what we're going to do then is basically have a short break, and then we're going to come back again, okay? So make some round of applause for our lovely sister Yael Kahn, who's come all the way from London. Now, you know, she's a rebel, right? She's been arrested more times than any other activist that I know of, okay? She don't care, and you know, she puts a lot of us down to shame, and especially, I'm not going to say what, you know, she's a lot older than us, and she goes outside BBC. She don't care. She's been arrested once, and her partner in crime as well. It's just the same. If you saw him over the weekend, the last national demonstration, he was giving a lot of shit, yeah, to the police, telling them where to go, you know, standing on behalf of the DOJ. So we got to do what we got to do, everybody. Unity is the strength, what we need. We have a lot of differences in the movement. Let me state that Zionists are smaller than us, okay? But they have an ideology and a belief that they believe in, and they are united. Unfortunately, the pro-Palestinian movement is very, very divided. It's time we put our differences and leave them outside, that we get together as one. They're more frightened of us when they see us in numbers, you know, but we need to get our act together. We need to put all of this shit aside, you know, that all the differences are, he's so-and-so, he's so, F the far left, whatever it is, or socialist, conservative. We need to unite for the sake of Palestine. You know, for 2 years now, a mass genocide's been happening, live stream genocide's been happening, and every night I don't sleep. I hear nothing but children, voices crying in my head. Amount of videos that I see, we can't stop. You know, people know that we don't stop as activists, independent women. While everybody's in bed sleeping, 12 o'clock at night, we're out leafleting. We're out on Coventry Road, where people are out there engaging with the youngsters, everybody that stops there eating, going in the takeaways, going outside the Just Juice, all these places, speaking to individuals, telling them how important it is to attend these demonstrations, how important it is to attend these meetings. Some people don't have a genuine clue out there. There's roughly about 300,000 to 400,000 Muslims living in Birmingham. And when we do a demonstration, we're lucky to get 2,000 people out. When blessed George Galloway came, we get 5,000 people out. We need even 10% of that numbers come out in Birmingham. You can bring Birmingham to stand still. You know, we go down to London, but we need to start hitting the streets. We need to, every demonstration that you go to, you need to bring in 4 to 5 new people to join the movement. We need new blood in the movement. And what I say is, everybody, please, please, for the sake of Palestine, put all the differences aside. We could have this room even more full, but there's a certain group of people who won't support what we do. And that's a shame, because we need to be united, and we need to be united for Palestine. I was going to hand over to our sister.
There's only one state, Palestine 48. 680,000 were exterminated in Gaza. Now that is the real number. It's a third of the Palestinians in Gaza. So whatever we speak, the real the real heroes are in Gaza. We here have, of course, no right to decide for the Palestinians how they want their future. But we also can, as been said, we can have an opinion. We know that Zionism, sorry. We know that Zionism is a white supremacist, is part of the European colonialism of the Third World.
It's actually Jewish supremacy, not white supremacy.
Zionism is white supremacism, is part of the European colonialism of, this is how the US was created, Canada was created, and we know they exterminated the indigenous people. The same Australia, New Zealand, and other parts of Africa as well. We know the French failed because of the resistance in Algeria. I speak as a Israeli Jewish, and particularly as Israeli Jewish, I have no right, and no Israeli has the right, to dictate to the Palestinians how they resist. And that includes, it's their right, it is there, also enshrined in law, in the international law, to use any means necessary to resist the ethnic cleansing, the apartheid, the genocide. And Palestinians have chosen, many Palestinians have chosen to do a BDS, boycott, divestment and sanction, which is a non-violent, but Palestinians have the right to choose other means to resist the most brutal policies, which are Zionist policies, which are intended from the onset of Zionism to ethnic cleanse the Palestinian. Zionism was never about peace, it was always about peace of Palestine. Before the partition, which accepted in the UN in 1947, Ben-Gurion already before that said, we'll take that and then we'll take more. So we know that this is Zionism, and therefore a two-state solution is no solution, because it will always keep Zionism in power. So Zionism has to be dismantled, has to be smashed. The occupied Palestine, and I'm referring also to the Galilee Triangle, all of Palestine, has to go through a process of de-Zionization, like denazification, which Nazi Germany had to go through. However, and that's where I part from one speaker, like in South Africa, and I totally agree, the brutality of the white South African did not meet the brutality of the Israelis. Actually, I don't think any oppression, any reach the sadism, the level of lack of any respect for the victims. I don't want to list, because we all know what Israel is doing, but it's definitely worse than, including worse than what happened to my family during the Holocaust in the Second World War. Israel is extremely brutal, but still, in South Africa, they didn't call to expel all white South Africa. And I think that if you call to force 7 million people, that means you will have to commit some war crime. I agree. We Israelis, we all live as thieves. We have profited and benefited from the theft of Palestine and all the other resources. But the solution that you then use a similar method of exterminating we are invaders, but the solution, and that's people who didn't choose. I didn't choose to be born in Israel. And I want to make it very clear. I live here in the UK, but it was not a decision that because I'm Israeli, I have to leave Palestine. That was not a decision. It was actually a very selfish decision. I didn't want to live among Israelis because I knew what a society it is, a society of hate. And I didn't like the society. So it was a very selfish decision. I did not sacrifice myself. On the contrary, Palestinians with whom I campaigned for years, they begged me to stay and continue campaigning with them. But when the first Intifada, that's when I left, when the first Intifada, unfortunately, was crushed, I felt that I was not effective anymore, that my campaign was not justifying to stay there. And that's why I didn't stay. So we have a completely, and it's important that we consider those aspects. I totally agree that coexistence is been promoted for years. I'm quite allergic to that word, coexistence, because really it always was about coexisting with Zionism. And Zionism is something that has to be crushed, not lived with. And the idea that you can create a Palestinian state, not only that sorry, I think I get it too close. Not only that the Palestinian state is not even defined, when now they're trying to bamboozle public opinion, that as if they allow Israel, they don't need to falsely stop Israel doing the extermination, the genocide, the Holocaust in Gaza. And all they need to say is that a two-state solution. This is a gaslighting. It's aimed to enable Israel to continue with the genocide. But it's not only the timing. It's not only that. If they were really serious about two-state solution, they had lots of opportunities. Start with the partition program, which was absolutely outrageous, stealing the Palestinian land and giving it to people who mostly didn't even live there. And like, for example, my family came after the partition. My parents came after the partition. And we can see that Israel is bombing Lebanon, occupying Lebanon. Israel is bombing and occupying Syria. Having a state is no defense against Zionist terrorism. So back to that the most important is to fight Zionism wherever we can, however we can, and know that there will be no peace, there will be no justice, and there will be a more genocide, more ethnic cleansing, as long as there is Zionism. So I call for smash Zionism, end Zionist terrorism, free Palestine, from the river to the sea. Palestine will be free.
Free, free Palestine. Free Palestine. Give it thanks to Sister Yael Kahn, mashallah, you know what I mean? She, even though she says it herself, she sacrificed not to go back and live amongst the Zionists because she believes in a free Palestine. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Right guys, 10-15 minute short break, get your cigarette break, coffee break, toilet break in, yeah? And the speakers, the press like to have a quick word with you guys, and if you want to give them a quick interview, if that's okay, yeah?
Right, as we settle down, this is the next phase, the final phase. We do have some more speakers. My name is Arif. I'm the other half of the activist independent movement, and there are other activists here. So this event, once again organised by the activist independent movement, and we do have another event next Sunday at the same venue about military intervention. So please do share. So without further ado, yeah, right. Abid's going to give you a short rendition, and we'll take it over to our musician.
Thanks, Larry. Thanks, Danielle. This song is 2 minutes, but I need to give you just a little bit of context, so just indulge me. When Norman Finkelstein did his last speaking tour in the UK, someone at the end in the Q&A asked him, because you know he's gone quite negative about the future of Gaza, they asked him, if you're so negative about what's going to happen, why do you still advocate, why do you still speak out? And Norman thought, and he said, because I cannot live quietly. And in that moment, I had the idea for this song. And it's called I Will Not Live Quietly.
Got the
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mashallah, mashallah. I'm really happy. Thank you very much. That's a brilliant song. Arif, where's he gone? He's booked. Yeah, 18th, yeah? Make it a date, don't be late, yeah? And I want the same energy that you got there, yeah? Where you saying everyone for the 18th, yeah? So we just got an exclusive there. That's how Activist Independent Movement does things. Now, thank you very much. I hope you all had a good break. I'd like you to give a thank you to the volunteers. They went out today in the rain and leafleting, and that's, mashallah, the Workers' Party, not just for this event, but also for the next week's event as well. Arif has got the leaflets. We'll be handing out those leaflets. We can kindly, lads, hand out the leaflets. And also, there's a bucket there. If you can bring the bucket around as well, lads. If you can make a small donation, these events, they cost money, and without donations, we can't put on events. Any small donation give, we're more than happy. If not, if you want a link, we can give you a link as well. So we can put on more events like this. Are you guys enjoying tonight?
Yes.
Yes? You want more events like this?
Yes.
Yes, okay, we've got military intervention next week, but Ousman will tell you a bit more about that. Now, I want you to, 1 second, I want you to introduce you to a brother who's come all the way from London, and been in traffic as well, he's been stuck. And if you don't know, you need to go to Palestinian House and check out Brother Abu Jenin and his matluba, you know, that's a Palestinian dish, okay? I've never got to taste it yet. I'm not going to lie to you, all the demonstrations I'll be doing. Every time I go to London, Sister Tabby and everybody sees a Gaza, always bring the matluba, but we have to jump back on the coaches, come back home. And this is Brother Abu Jenin. He grew up in an agricultural village outside of the West Bank town of Tukulum, okay, between the first and the second intifadas. He studied industrial engineering and conflict management in the West Bank and London. He's currently based in London, where he's a chef, food activist, and a founder of Palestine Farm Project. We provide support to the farmers in order to create a sustainable agricultural economy in Palestine. Please give a round of applause to our other Palestinian speaker today. Brother, you will have to come, if you don't mind.
Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, everybody. I thank each and every one of you, all the speakers, the organizers, and the rest of you for taking your time to come to this event. And we all, in my name and the name of all the Palestinians I know, we all thank you for all the work that you do, that we know about, that we don't know about for Palestine. Tonight, I am going to start my segment with explaining few phrases that have been used and abused and emptied of their meaning. And the first I will start with is the Palestinian people. When we speak about the Palestinian people, most people think of the Palestinians who live in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. And the fact is, the Palestinian people are more than 17 million Palestinians. Half of them live in the diaspora as refugees and hold other nationalities, and the other half live in historical Palestine, divided by the colonial state of Israel between Gaza Strip, the West Bank, 1948, and Jerusalem. The second thing I want to clarify is often when people speak about Palestine or the Palestinian-Israeli conflict or the Jewish-Arab problem, these are all misleading terms, and I will explain. A good percentage of the Israeli Jews in Israel are Arabs. They come from Egypt, from Libya, from Tunisia, from Morocco, and from Iraq and Yemen and other Arab countries. And we're talking about more than 50% of the Jewish Israeli population in Israel. Number two, if we speak about the Israelis, the term is not politically correct because Israel as we stand today has 10 million people living in it, 20%, which is a little over 2 million of those Israelis who hold Israeli documents are actually Palestinians. So when we use the term Palestinian-Israeli conflict, it's very misleading and confusing. When we use the Arab-Jewish issue, it's also very misleading and confusing, and rather, excuse me, my notes are very disorganized, and rather it's an issue, it's not a real state dispute between two national groups, but rather a struggle for civil and political rights within a single political entity. So the conflict's roots and the right term to use, it's simply not between two national movements with equal claims, but is fundamentally a project of settler colonialism versus indigenous resistance. The other issue I want to talk about is very important and sensitive to the Palestinian people, which is the PLO, the Palestine Liberation Organization, and the PNA, the Palestinian National Authority. The PLO, as they represent themselves, and if anybody here is not familiar with the PLO, it's represented by Hussam Zumlut in London, who doesn't represent me or any of the Palestinians I speak on behalf. The PLO, they represent themselves as the sole and legitimate representative of the Palestinian people. There is some truth to that, but let's see by who. The PLO was initiated by Nasser, the late Egyptian president, and the PLO is the sole representative and legitimate, the only sole and legitimate representative of the Palestinian people according to two entities. The first one is the resolutions of the Arab League and the recognition of the United Nations. None of the Palestinians who live in historical Palestine or in the diaspora were consulted or asked whether they chose this political elite to represent them or not. There has never been one election through which this group was chosen. The term, the sole representative of the Palestinian people, was first declared in Rabat in one of the Arab League summits and was acknowledged by the United Nations. And the head of the PLO is also the head of the theoretical state of Palestine that was declared in 1988. When the PLO was created in 1964 for the liberation of Palestine, Palestine as they refer to is Palestine as we all call for its liberation today, from the river to the sea. Please note that 1964, when the PLO was created, this was before the 1967 war. And now the PLO changed its speech and its constitution, and they changed the map of Palestine, historical Palestine, limited it to the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, shrinking it to less than 20% of historical Palestine, changed the constitution of the Palestinian people that they claim to represent without consulting a soul, a Palestinian soul. And we all know if a country, an existing country, want to change its constitution or its flag or any fundamental structure in that country, a majority of 2/3 of the people's consent is required, and that's the minimum. And if the PLO and the Palestinian National Authority claim to be the sole representative of the Palestinian people, where are they from what's happening in Gaza? Where are they from what's happening in the West Bank? All their statements that we hear is that they have nothing to do with this. Nobody consulted them about going to 7th of October and any act of resistance. As a Palestinian, I stand with the resistance. I stand with resisting occupation. I stand with resisting oppression. I stand with resisting colonialism. I stand with the resistance against segregation. I stand against ethnic cleansing. And as a Palestinian, when I stand against all of these things and I label myself as a pro-resistance, I refuse to be demonized or labeled as anti-Semitic or a terrorist. Resistance is very, very important to our very own existence as human beings.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine!
Now I come to the term free Palestine. I come to the term liberation of Palestine. This is often misunderstood, is often equated with a lot of misleading statements and phrases. To us, the Palestinians, and I am a Palestinian who come from the West Bank, who went to Gaza, I went to prison, I spoke to people in the diaspora, and I'm in touch with lots of Palestinian voices. Our consensus to liberation of Palestine from the river to the sea means, and this is very important, toppling the existing regime in Israel. We don't have a problem with the Israelis. We don't have a problem with Jewish people. We only have a problem with the Israeli regime. This Israeli regime is the problem. The problem is not the Israelis. The problem is not the Jewish people. The problem is simply a regime. And to change that regime, you need a majority. This regime currently controls the life of about 17 million people from the river to the sea and imposes different rules on different groups in that land. And I'm going to go into details with this. I found it. Almost there. So this existing regime gives Israeli Jews full citizenship and voting rights, while it gives Palestinian citizens of Israel citizenship but face systematic discrimination. Palestinians who live in East Jerusalem are permanent residents. They have the right to remain, like you give to newly immigrated people here in England. Palestinians in the West Bank live under military law with no political rights, and Palestinians in Gaza live under a blockade, and they're going through a genocide now. 8 million Palestinian refugees are denied the entry at all, and all their rights are being denied. This regime is what we have a problem with, and this regime has got to go. Now I come to why we reject a two-state solution. It will take me a minute to find. So, first of all, a two-state solution is no longer viable, practically speaking. Decades of Israeli settlement expansion in the West Bank has intentionally and irreversibly destroyed the possibility of a continuous, viable, sovereign Palestinian state. Please note that over 750,000 Israeli settlers now live in the West Bank and East Jerusalem, connected by a network of Israeli-only roads, military checkpoints, watching towers, and other military infrastructure. This have carved up the West Banks into disconnected Bantustans. The other thing is the geographic impossibility. A future of a Palestinian state would not have any control over its borders, airspace, or water resources, and would be economically strangled, and it would be a state in name only, with Israel retaining ultimate security control. The other reason is, in best case scenarios, this state will only be established on 20% of the space of historical Palestine, which means canceling the right of return to 8 million Palestinian refugees who live worldwide. Half of them, by the way, are in Jordan. The other reason is the settlement project has progressed so far that physically removing hundreds of thousands of Israeli settlers to create a Palestinian state is politically impossible inside Israel. Therefore, pursuing a two-state solution is futile exercise that will only prolong the conflict and the occupation. And the most important reason why we Palestinians refuse a two-state solution is that the Zionist movement is a colonial project that displaced the indigenous Palestinian population. The two-state solution is a compromise that legitimizes the colonial conquest of 1948, the Nakba, by allowing Israel to retain its spoils of war while giving the Palestinians a shrunken fragment on the remnants of the West Bank. Bear with me, I'm sorry. My paper's a bit disorganized. Now we come to the one-state solution and why we stand for that solution. First of all, the one-state solution to us as Palestinian is a perspective grounded on principles of equality, decolonization, and practical reality. A one-state solution proposes a single state where all people living between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea, Jews, Muslims, and Christians alike, Palestinians and non-Palestinians, have equal citizenship, equal rights, and equal vote in a shared government. This is the only ethical alternative to a system of perpetual separation and inequality. The right of return for Palestinian refugees has always been a central pillar of the Palestinian cause and a major sticking point in a two-state negotiations. The one-state framework offers more direct path to addressing it. Where in a two-state model, Israel has always rejected the right of return of millions of Palestinian refugees to their original homes, now Israel, fearing it would alter the Jewish demographic charter of the state. Compromises often involve financial compensation and limited family reunions, which many Palestinians see as an abandonment of fundamental rights. In a single state, with a constitution guaranteeing equal rights of return of refugees, the return of those refugees would not threaten the demographics dominance of one group over another, because citizenship and rights would not be tied to ethnic identity or religion. The practical implementation of this would be complex, but politically and ideologically, the barriers is going to be removed. The two-state solution is a fiction that masks an unsustainable and unjust reality of apartheid and permanent occupation. Pursuing it will only delay the inevitable reckoning. The one-state solution, while incredibly challenging, is the only honest and ethical path forward. It confronts the reality on the grounds and seeks to replace a system of ethnic separation with a single democracy based on universal rights for everyone living on that land, offering a potential long-term solution to a century of conflict. However, the immense political and psychological barriers makes its implementation seem distant. We see it very, very, very close. And that will be the end of my segment. I have two things to end with. First of all, as you all noticed, I am not sharing this panel with the rest of the speakers, with all respect to each and every one of them. I want to clarify one thing. As a Palestinian individual, I have no problem of talking to anyone or mingling with anyone. But when it comes to me representing Palestine or Palestinians anywhere, I have strict rules that I abide with. Amongst those, and the most important thing, is that I don't share the panel with any Israeli speaker.
Well said.
Now, if that Israeli speaker signs a declaration or meets certain standards that I and other Palestinians set for ourselves, we will be sharing any space with them. Those two fundamental things, as an Israeli, beside leaving Israel and not be complicit in the colonial Zionist project, one of the most important things is that you denounce your Israeli citizenship. Now, I know Yael. I know her for a long time. Palestinians and myself, we are aware of every single activist who does anything for Palestine. And we are most aware of all the Israelis who stand on the Palestinian side. On one hand, I do appreciate all the things that you do for the Palestinians, and I do respect the work that you do, but I want to make it clear that all of this does not count as an Israeli unless the most important thing you need to do is denounce your Israeli citizenship that was given to you by the Israeli regime I was talking about now. My problem is with this Israeli regime and with any document that this Israeli regime issues. And this privilege is available at the disposal of more than 95% of the Israelis, since all of them, including Yael, hold a second passport, a second citizenship. They're not gonna be nationally homeless if they denounce their Israeli citizenship. Denouncing Israeli citizenship is very, very important in the fight. Nobody can speak about Hitler in terms of killing 6 million Jews and try to emphasize on the fact that he's vegetarian or he was environmentally friendly. I'm making the comparison here because this is very, very important. The problem that we have with the Israelis who advocate for the Palestinians are many. One of them is some of them are still living in Israel and complicit in the colonial Zionist project, holding of their Israeli citizenship. And other problems are the fact that during times like this, for example, when the stakes are so high, there has never been more need for new Palestinian voices, young voices, to be on stage speaking to this crowd. We need those voices. And the people who have been involved in this conflict, like Yael, for over 50 years in this conflict, you could share the privilege of being connected to groups and having access to audience like this by passing on the invitation to other Palestinian voices that I'm sure that you know, to come and take your time, give them your time. You're given 15 or 20 minutes to address an audience like this. What else do you have new to say that you haven't said in the past 51 years? What else is there left to be said? That's one thing. The other thing is the problem with Israeli activists on the left is that they often take the driver's seat when it comes to Palestinians. If you look up Yael, and I'm not here attacking Yael, but I'm giving her as an example for most of the Israelis that advocate for Palestinians. You will know Yael's background, what year she was born, her parents, her story, where she lives, and her timeline. And when it comes to her involvement with the Palestinians, you only hear that she worked in refugee camps with Palestinians, almost mimicking the Western media narrative when they cover the stories about the Palestinians and the Israelis. I give you as well examples of how the work of Palestinians on their own is often knowingly or unknowingly, directly or indirectly, undermined by Israeli activists. If a Palestinian issue a book, if a Palestinian makes a statement, if it was not, it would be undermined automatically. And the minute an Israeli jumps on board, the book is gonna go viral. Because they're connected, they have a privilege, and they're not willing to use that unless they take their seat right there. Or in a book, their name need to be written. They will not agreed to work behind the scenes to empower Palestinians, to give them access to what they have access to. And an activist like Yael, I think she will be way more beneficial for the Palestinian cause had she been now in Israel, since you're still holding your Israeli citizenship. There is so much work.
You didn't even listen, I don't.
You still call yourself an Israeli, though, don't you? So it's the same thing.
Okay. Are you denouncing your Israeli citizenship here?
We have to discuss what is denounced, but I don't have
It's a simple question. Say that you denounce your Israeli citizenship right there, so I come and hug you and sit right next to you. Do that. Do that. Have the courage to do that. Denounce your Israeli citizenship live on TV right now, and I'll come and hug you and sit next to you, and you're gonna be eating my makluba, which I brought all the way from London. Have the courage to do that.
I just want to say this is not personal. It shouldn't be personal. And it's not a discussion between Yael and Abu Jenin. The intention that we've invited these speakers is to talk about whether a one state or a two state you are allowed an opinion. We don't condone any personal attacks, any insinuations. I hope, Yael, you are not offended. If you are, I just want to apologize to you, because nobody should be put on the spot. Nobody should be put on the spot, yeah? So Abu Jenin, if you are Palestinian and you want to be that voice, I ask you to come back and embrace the people that are doing the work, that are making sacrifices. If Yael Kahn has been making 51 years of sacrifice, then give her that respect. Give her that dignity, but don't use a public platform and come as our guest in Birmingham and disrespect our invited speaker. If you are a true Palestinian and you are true to your word, you would come back and you come here and converse. It is not personal, and it should never be about personalities, etc.
Let's focus on what we're here to do. I want to give thanks to the activist independent movement for weeks of effort to get this meeting to happen. These meetings don't happen unless people put in the work. It's hard graft. As Brother Daniel said, it requires many nights sleeplessly to actually call people and get these venues to happen. We're grateful, we're honored that we have so many people here today, and it needs to be at the core an ability for us to converse. I respect both sides here. And I think if Abu Jenin wants to leave, that is fine, and I fully respect that, and I fully respect the panelists for staying as well. Let's carry on.
Please. Excuse me. If you want to talk, take it outside, yeah, but...
Let's carry on to do what we set out to do. We are in a... Junaid, let's carry on, please. We're only here for another half an hour. Then we all have to go our separate ways. So let's use the time that we have to focus on what's at hand. We all know that there has been an extermination of the Palestinian people going on for decades. There has been an acceleration of that extermination in Gaza for the last 23 months. The most unhinged fascist violence that could ever be imagined, the worst atrocities that could ever be imagined are continuing to be inflicted every single day. And we, as humanity, have a responsibility to both organize and resist. We must keep our minds on that goal. The reason I was brought here today was to speak about the future of Palestine, and that answer is, it is for the Palestinians to determine their own future. We cannot give to Palestinians what already belongs to them. Their freedom, they are born free. They will live free. They have shown us through their daily armed resistance to the illegal expansionist genocidal regime that they are free. Gaza is probably the least occupied place in the world right now. It is the rest of us who have been entangled in a systematic campaign of propaganda that has taken us away from our freedom, from our ability to resist. And we are now awakening to that sacred duty to resist until all that remains is nothing. Nothing other than truth. Liberation is a process of destruction. To destroy what you think you know, to destroy the social conventions that allowed the world to do what it's doing right now, to break away from habits like buying Israeli products and to think, where am I spending my money? What is my role in this affair? To liberate yourself, to destroy the bonds that has allowed the Zionist project to exterminate the Palestinian people, to destroy the professional bonds that many of us have had to destroy in order to reveal the truth. I was working in the field of humanitarian disarmament. Many of those people in that field who pledge to stick up for international law are complicit. And they are starting to wake up. They are starting to destroy the bonds that has led us into this despair until all that remains is truth. Truth that we are one, that we are human. The Palestinians are at the brunt of the worst atrocities ever known to mankind. And they are resisting. They have been slaughtered for decades for that resistance. I've been calling on states, but really people, to wake up to this reality that Israel must be defeated militarily. We need to smash Zionism. Our role as non-Palestinians is to break the prison that is keeping the Palestinian people occupied. Smash Zionism. Smash Zionism in the shops. Smash Zionism in the schools. Smash Zionism in the courts. Smash it in your purse. But most importantly, smash Zionism on the battlefield. We are witnessing an extermination. The siege needs to be broken. The IOF are committed to the extermination of Palestinian people. They are committed to the extermination of Palestinian people. Every day you go to sleep, there is going to be another 80, 90, 100 people dead when you wake up that morning. Maybe more, maybe in the hundreds. We don't know what's going on right now. Right now they are bombarding Gaza City, the last remaining place where there is a population that have endured nearly 2 years of the most cruel, heartless campaign of destruction the world has ever seen, and now being razed to death. We need to break the fucking siege now. The flotilla has tried this several times. Civilians, humanity from all over the world, hundreds of people from every corner of the world has tried to break the siege. And they are bombing the flotilla. So we need to send our militaries, send the vessels, threaten, smash the Zionist enterprise. Every member of the IOF needs to get the fuck out of Gaza. The walls need to be smashed. Every checkpoint needs to be smashed. What I'm saying is not even controversial. It is a legal obligation on every single state. It is a binding order of the highest court in the world. The United Nations General Assembly, for what it's worth, has ordered all of the checkpoints to be smashed. This is how Palestine will be free. Not by giving it to them. They already own it. They are free. They're more free than us. We need to smash Zionism. It is also occupying us, as we have seen from the level of state brutality that we are experiencing, from the willingness of this state to clamp down on anyone speaking out for the Gaza people, for the people in Gaza. Zionism has occupied the world. On every single corner you see Zionism. On every single social media platform you see Zionism. We are all complicit, actually, in the Zionist enterprise until we wake up and recognize the IDF is living in our heart in the form of fear. They have told us that we should be scared of them, that we should be repressed, that we should be silenced, that we should be targeted. And we are now waking up and saying, fuck you, we are free as well, and we will demand our freedom. Zionism has to be smashed, primarily in our hearts. Liberate yourself from that fear. We have nothing to fear from the Zionist project. That facade is now breaking down. They are losing the battle. They are losing it in the ideological warfare. They are losing it in the courts. They are losing it on the streets. They are in a downward spiral. And now, unfortunately, as we know from past imperial conquests, they will get more violent because they are committed to genocide. They do not see the Palestinians as human beings. They are enjoying the slaughter. They will carry on the slaughter until they are stopped. So we need to be serious. The armed resistance needs to be backed. They have been right all along. They have been suffering for being right all along. They need to be empowered. They need not just to be applauded, but to be joined. Not good enough to have tweets celebrating Ansar Allah or Hezbollah or the Axis. What good are tweets? We need to join forces. Send vessels, send the armies, send the navies, smash Zionism. We need to join the fight. So next week we're going to be holding in this precious city of Birmingham, which I believe to be a beating heart of pro-Palestine solidarity, an awakened community of people who see Palestinians as themselves, because they are us. We are one with them. We have stripped down all the barriers of separation that separate us from the Palestinian people. We have wakened ourselves up. We have realized our humanity is one with them, and we must therefore join the fight. We need to be serious about that, and I'm sorry I'm talking about what I'm about to do next week, but it's actually necessary for this to be from Birmingham. I'm from this city, and it is clear from the audience, we have people from every part of the world who've realized this truth, that we are one, and we will succeed, and we will smash Zionism, and we will succeed. I will say this as a Muslim. I've said this as a Muslim. I've said this as a Muslim. Many of us here are Muslim, but it doesn't matter actually. But Islam tells us victory belongs to Allah. Allah is the best of planners. You are a fool to go against Allah. But you can see it in any way you like. See it in terms of love. Love conquers all. Every artist has told us this. Every poet has told us this. Every political enterprise has told us this. Love conquers all. We are doing it right now. We are in the revolution, and we will win the revolution. So do it as individuals. Wake up to your role in this. Wake up to your agency in this. Israel will be smashed because we will smash them. The people, not the UN, not the states, not politicians. We, the people, will smash Zionism, and we're doing it right now in every time we hold an event like this. But we need to mobilize military force until victory. Zionism must be smashed. Israel must be smashed. There is no alternative. Until that happens, we will carry on waking up and seeing more and more dead. And I will continue to say this until everyone is woken up to it. That is our responsibility. It is our sacred duty, and it will succeed as long as we believe it will. So mean it when you say it. Free Palestine and fuck Zionism. Fuck Israel. Smash the Zionist enterprise in every way that you can.
So we've got a new slogan now, yeah? When I say smash, and you say smash Zionism. Smash! Zionism. Smash! Zionism. Smash! Zionism. Smash! Zionism. Smash! Zionism. Smash! Zionism. Every single person here, that's what we've got to start doing now, yeah? We're already doing it by starting events like this. Next week's going to be the military intervention. Brother's already highlighted what he's going to do. Mashallah, give him a round of applause for his passion, his energy. We need people like this in the movement. Where's he been? MashaAllah, again with the revolution, it begins with people like this who stand up and speak out. He didn't give his background. He's a human rights lawyer, barrister. He's had UN background.
I'm being prosecuted by the Bar Standards Board for speaking out in support of the legal rights of Hezbollah to use military force to destroy the IDF, which I tweeted and I back up and I repeat. Every state, every non-state actor, every person has a legal, moral, humanitarian obligation to smash Zionism, and I'm making the. I've instructed my barrister to do as much damage to Zionism as possible through this case.
So we're going to be supporting this brother whenever the case comes up. Everybody, okay? We're going to be out there, and what are we going to do? Smash, Zionism. Smash, Zionism. Smash. Zionism. Now. This brother, Chris Williamson, is waiting patiently, right? He's come a long way, right? He's from Derby, he's not that far away. You know, it's down the road on the A38. I used to go there as a child, you know, so I know. But before I bring the brother on, I had to keep him at the end because they started the One State Palestine, which at George Galloway when he came down, bless him, at our demonstration. Before I do that, I was going to highlight a couple of things. Now, everyone's aware that there is going to be Maccabiah coming down on the 6th of November. Now, activists, independent, a lot of people have contacted us what was going to happen on that day. We don't want to say too much, as you know, but Activist Independent Movement is going to be doing something with our coalition partners up and down the country. Everybody be here, and inshallah, they're not going to do what they've done in Amsterdam, because we're going to smash Zionism. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. But if you want to, on September the 25th, there's a Villa vs Bologna match. And basically YFPP and Brother Zaid's at the back there, they've been recently going down the Villa matches, home matches, and they've basically been out there with Palestine. So give them a round of applause, you know, for being out there. They've taken a lot of abuse this weekend. If you can go down whenever the Villa matches are there, please do go down there. If you want more information on the local events that are going to be happening down Villa, YFPP, I'll follow them on Instagram. Okay, now the other thing is there's a sister here, March for Gaza. You heard about the one that happened previously, but there's another March for Gaza being planned, which is going to start from Manchester. It's going to come to Birmingham. It's going to be a convoy that's going to go to Europe. We don't say too much, but there's going to be another Gaza march happening. And there's a brother, Mohammed, his name is. He's from Belgium. There's some information there. I'm going to bring that down at the front, sister. Just bring it down to me. Just bring it down. Okay, there's laminated posters here, yeah. Basically, it's going to be 20 buses, the legendary 1,000 Global March for Palestine. So stand up and show, be a legendary. Now, I think there is some funding going on. They want something like £1 a month. We're doing a unity campaign. Unity campaign, yeah. £1 a month. £1 a month. If you. The
idea is not to threaten people and obviously put loads of people together and create unity.
Okay. If you follow Activist Independent Movement on TikTok and Instagram, we'll get all the information out because we do support that as well. There'll be more details on that. But now, the One State Palestine, which basically George Galloway and the Workers' Party took on board to start this campaign. This is one of the reasons why we are here today. We have different people from different backgrounds on the panel. You know, we know a lot of people are passionate, but you can't blame everybody for what's going on. We knew this wasn't going to be easy. We knew there's going to be different opinions. We knew it might be controversial. They're out there that who haven't turned up. They want us to define us as anti-Semitics. We're not, sister, okay? You know how much I got love for you now, support we got, yeah? You know that, you know, but we can't turn around and put pressure. Sisters heard what Abu Jenin said. She can take it back. She can analyze it. It's up to her what she wants to do because it's a free country and it's a democratic country that we live in. No pressure. But like I said, it wasn't going to be easy. And doing anything is never going to be easy like this. But two solution is out that window now. The fuck two solution. You know, I'm going to start using Ousman Noor's language. You know, Zara Sultana can say the F word, I think we can say it as well. So the politicians that started it off, I'm sorry, Arif, you know, I'm not like you get me? I'm street, I'm from Raw, you know me, I've grown up in Answorth with the Rasta man, and you know me, I got Jamaican background, and we say how we go, you understand? So fuck two solution. I'm gonna hand it over to Chris Williamson, you know, he's gonna explain a bit more. I brought them here, and I stated that there's lots of things people want to know about One State Palestine. Every policy that people bring in, there's never going to be exactly how you want it to be. There needs to be tweaks, and we need to have tweaks in the movement so they can take this back and get more people involved in this One State Palestine. Everybody in here, if you believe in the One State Palestine, get behind the One State Palestine movement.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much, comrades. Comrades, brothers and sisters, speaking at the end of a very long meeting, there is probably not a great deal more that I can add to what the other speakers have very eloquently already said this evening. And I've been drinking lots of tea, so I'm desperate for a wee. So I don't want to. I won't detain you. I won't detain you too long. But as has just been said, George Galloway and I took the decision with the Workers' Party to establish the One State Palestine campaign because there is so much talk still about a two-state proposition. The mainstream political parties are still talking in those terms. Even senior figures in the potential new movement, your party, some of whom still seem to be labouring under the misapprehension that there is still a future for a two-state proposition. There never was a two-state proposition on the card. It's always been a Zionist talking point to continually kick the can down the road to prevent any meaningful solution ever being arrived at. And so we took the decision to, if you like, grasp the bull by the horns and to make it very clear that the only meaningful, realistic alternative proposition to what is happening right now is a one-state solution with equal rights for all citizens. And Britain has a particularly important role to play. I mean, some people say, why do you spend so much time talking about Palestine? We have an historic obligation to deal with this question because it's Britain's fault that this terrible shit show is actually befalling the Palestinian people right now and has done for the last 77 years. I mean, what was the British government doing? I mean, they had no right to the land, and they gave it to the Zionists, who had no legitimate claim to the land, at the expense of the Palestinian people, who had no say in the matter. That's an absolute outrage. And what happened, frankly, in my opinion, is that it was a Labour government at the time, surrendered to a terrorist campaign, a long-standing terrorist campaign by the Zionists. I mean, the whole Zionist entity was born out of terrorism. And I think, a lot of people are not aware of that, and it's important, therefore, indeed incumbent upon us to actually, talk about the history, to talk about Britain's historic role, and therefore its historic duty to re-establish historic Palestine. That is what we need to be doing, and I think we need to be exposing all those politicians who are in the pockets of the Zionists. I mean, the Zionists own the British political class in this country, don't they? Financially, and they may have some compromise on them, and they certainly own the political class over the water in the United States of America as well. And it's therefore really essential, I think, that we build a head of steam. And there is a massive support now for the Palestinian cause amongst the British people, and indeed right across the world. I mean, there's never been a time in my life where the political class have been so out of touch with the people that they are supposed to be representing. And so what I think we need to do, and there is a potential opportunity now with a popular front maybe coming through, to put forward a series of candidates at the next election where we might be able to throw out these useless politicians who are complicit in this genocide. This genocide would not be happening, could not be happening, were it not for the complicity of the political class. And we therefore have a moral obligation to put pressure on those politicians who are allowing this horrendous situation to continue, and to actually organise ourselves to ensure that we can throw them out and replace them with politicians who will genuinely represent the people who elect them, and actually put in place a situation where Britain has a reputation for bringing about peace and disarmament around the world rather than war and arms sales, which has been the way forever, frankly. And so that's why we've established the One State Palestine, because of Britain's historic obligations in terms of what it did in actually causing this situation to arise in the first instance, and to give people the arguments really that they can then use to put the case to their politicians and hopefully get us to a position where we can elect people who will actually represent the will of the people. And so I don't really want to say a great deal more than that, because I need to nip to the loo, because I've been waiting for a long time to speak now. Thanks everybody that has spoken. Thank you for inviting me here today. And let's go out of here and make sure that we continue to make the case. There's a lot of people here today, but there's a lot of people who aren't here. There is an open door now. We're pushing at an open door. People have seen the horrors on their smartphones, on their PCs, not so much on the mainstream TV. So people are now aware in a way that they've never been in history. I mean, there's never been a time when we've seen a genocide taking place in real time on our smartphones and on our PCs, on our computers. And so people are absolutely horrified now. So people are really aware of the injustice that the Palestinians have been subjected to. And so if we can build that movement, go out of here and actually convince people that this is a cause that is a just cause, and it's a cause that we have an obligation to promote historically, as I've already said. But I think it's also important and incumbent on us to actually explain to people that the people who are responsible for facilitating the genocide in Gaza are the self-same people who are responsible for actually creating a situation in Britain where we have 15 million people living in poverty. It's the self-same people, these evil individuals who are amoral, these people who make money out of war, who make money out of pain and suffering, who make money, frankly, out of a genocide. It's an utter moral outrage. And, we have a chance, I think, now to build a movement which will be unstoppable. And as has already been said very eloquently and passionately by my comrade here, what we need to do is absolutely smash Zionism. Thank you very much indeed.
Victory. Well said, well said. So, obviously, Chris has heard everything. We're going to have question and answers in a second. We have time, everybody here, because we started an hour late, so we have an hour extra to go over, because that wasn't our fault. We had technical issues in the building. This brother's come all the way from London. He's a Palestinian brother, and he just wants to say thank you to everybody. And then we'll start with the questions and answers.
Hello, everybody here. My name is Mahmoud from Palestine, Gaza, and I will always say sorry about my language, English, so I don't speak like good English, but anyway, I will say thanks for everyone here. Actually, people in Gaza, when I speak with my family or another people, then think, they say all people have forget us. So when them say that, when they say everyone here speak about them, try to do something for people in the Gaza, I think people in Gaza will be happy about this. Will know the another people see what happening in Gaza. The people in Gaza will know also that the have people will stay with them, will try to help them for how is them. Actually, when I speak with my family, them say it's better if we die, because all people forget us. Actually, don't say every minute. But when I come here, when I say people here, try to help them, try to speak about them, try to do something, I will be happy. I will 100%, or I should also 100%, when people in Gaza see this thing, them also will be happy. They will also think, okay, no, we see another people think about us. So thanks. Big love for everyone here. Big love for everyone. Speak about people in Gaza. Thanks.
Habibi, we make you a promise. Me, Brother Arif, and Activist Independent, and everybody here, we never will forget Gaza, okay? No matter what. We have sacrificed a lot. Personally, he's nearly lost most of his business. I lost my family, more or less, here because of the Committee to Palestine. And no matter what happens, we are going to keep being the voice for the voiceless. That's the promise, Habibi, okay? You don't need to thank us, right? Because it's everybody's responsibility, whether they're Muslim or non-Muslim, to stand up for humanity. And whatever's happening, whether it is people in Gaza dying or anywhere else around the world, doesn't matter whether it's a Jew, Christian, non-Muslim, doesn't matter. You have to stand up for humanity. And we have to do that no matter what. And we always will do that, brother. Okay, Habibi? One love, okay? I'm safe journey back. Now, can everybody make a round of applause for our wonderful panel? Okay? Yeah, make a noise for Louise Scrivens, Dr. Rehiana, Brother Ousman Noor, Chris Williamson has just gone to the toilet, Sister Shahd Karaeen, Sister Yael Kahn, and our other brother is gone, but Abu Jenin. Okay, thank you very much for their time, and many thanks for everyone that was come here today as well. Many thanks for the Workers' Party and all the volunteers and all of you that have come here and took your time out. We're not done yet because we have questions and answers, yeah? No speeches, please. Okay, because speeches are done now. Okay? So, go on, sister, what are you going to say? Can we ask them a question, and then you can say, oh, do you want to say something now? You want to address what Abu said, yeah? Okay, no problem. Can we leave that till the end and just ask a few questions? I promise you, sister, you know me, I don't lie. Now, anyone who's got a question, please? No? Are you joking? No questions? Serious? No? Okay, brother. Speak up. Now, can the microphone come there? Can somebody take the microphone? Come forward, brother. Come forward. Come here.
You got it.
Yeah. That's good.
Okay. Right, basically the question is that... basically the question is, no one mentioned anything about the protests yesterday. How do we count...
We're talking about One State Palestine.
Yeah.
Nothing about the right wing.
Okay, because I noticed that there was a lot of Israeli flags, with the protesters.
Okay.
And thing is that how do we counterattack? And I did mention last week as well. I've been attending protests for the last 50 plus years, and I've noticed so many Israeli flags, and the English and the Union Jack, and so I think we need to, like I mentioned the other day, we need to start using a brain a bit, and maybe we should use the English flag. And, St. George's flag basically did belong to, what's his name, St. George was a Palestinian Christian. Yeah. So why don't we adopt this idea? So we should have English flags as well, St. George's flag, Union Jack, and we need to win the hearts, minds, and the souls of the average Joe blogs out there, because they are easily influenced to join the opposition.
I think that's a very good point, and it's really what I was trying to touch on in my contribution. We need to build a mass movement. We already have a mass movement. We need to build beyond that movement. And there are a lot of people out there who maybe haven't been convinced about the validity of this cause. And you make a very good point. I think there are a lot of people out there who are willing to be and ready to be convinced. And as I say, it comes back to that point, really, that the enemy of the Palestinian people are the enemy of us as well. They're the people that are actually creating the difficulties for millions of people in this country. And that's why a lot of those people are on the streets. I mean, some of them are racist, of course, but many are just desperate about the situation. And often what the far right do is they look for scapegoats, don't they? They other people, it's the migrants, or it's this or it's that. Rather than actually dealing with the real cause, and the real cause are the people at the top of society. And I always say to people, look, you've got more in common with the people that you're complaining about, the migrants or asylum seekers or whatever it might be, than you have with the people at the top of society. What we need to be doing is standing in unity and in solidarity, linking arms with each other, and actually standing up against the people that are creating the difficulties. I mean, look, there's more of us than them. I mean, and the great Percy Shelley poem, The Mask of Anarchy, as somebody took, when he said, "Rise like lions after slumber in unvanquishable number. Shake your chains to earth like dew, which in sleep have fallen on you. Ye are many, they are few." And that's absolutely true, isn't it? And we need to take that to heart and actually use that to actually win.
I think Sister, can I get that from Sister Rihanna wants to answer that question as well.
So just very briefly, because I'm not going to repeat what Chris was saying, I agree with you that actually we haven't, my whole campaign slogan when I ran last year was it should be Britain first, not Israel first. And it's quite funny, when I was on the Birmingham march a few weeks ago, some people raised their eyebrows and said, "Britain first?" And I said, yes, because it's about reclaiming a label. Now, I do think that actually you do need to, the issue the right wing have, or as what you call right wing, is that they may well be, they are legitimate issues that people are raising, and what tends to happen is that they get labelled as racist. Now, I have an issue. I am someone who has become progressively more of a free speech absolutist, okay? I think that anything goes as long as you're not inciting violence. And I think you have to develop a thick enough skin, because that's the only way you can have debate. Therefore, I don't fear debate. And I think you need that free speech platform to do that. You cannot call things hate speech. That's number one. So what's happened is the reason they have been allowed this fire, is because every time someone says something, it's you're an anti-Semite, you're a racist. I mean, it's just silly nonsense, okay? That's number one. Number two, the point I would add is that actually we have infiltration on the right. Just as we have it on the left, we have subversives telling us what we can say and what we can't say if we're going to be pro-Palestinian. We also have that huge infiltration on the right, who are basically pushing a certain angle to inflame tensions. And I think it's only with free speech that you can tackle those issues.
Now, I'll answer that question as well. Now, we got a demonstration coming up soon, okay? Now, as a Muslim community, living in the community, you've seen the flags go up, no one's taking them out, okay? Because we're not going to take them down, because it's wrong to take them down. We live in this country. As St. George, like we said, that they don't know about, because the IQ levels are, you know. And basically, he was a Palestinian, and his mother was, mother was a Palestinian, father was Turkish. But they don't realize that, because, you know, we're taking their jobs, remember, yeah? And, yeah, you know. Now, basically, what we're going to do is, can we get some St. George's flags in? Can you talk to China for me? Yeah? Yeah, right. What we'll do is, we will have St. George's flags at our next demonstration. You can see at the bottom here, we got our own Palestinian flags. Anybody wants any of them, they're free to take, okay? They're to use them at any demonstration. But we'll get some St. George's flags and we'll show them, okay? Because, like the sister says, you have to educate them, yeah? And at the end of the day, you've seen some of the statements in the TikTok and Instagram videos and some of the things that they say. We know the IQ levels. We have to stay on the path that we are. Like I said, they're a few, you know? And like Brother Ousman says, smash them. That's all we're going to do, stay united as one. You know what I mean? Put our differences, like I said, leave them outside, and let's build one movement of unity together. That's the only way we're going to move forward. Like our brother Mohammed from Belgium keeps saying, the unity campaign, and that's what we need to get behind, be united as one. If the so far liberal, left, I call them, they want to go their own way, let them go their own way, because they're on a sinking ship like the Titanic. You know, they want to boycott events like that, allow them to boycott events like that, because there's new people, new blood coming into the movement, and there's other people who will take this movement where it needs to be taken to. Does anybody else in the panel wants to say anything to that question? Anyone else got a question? Oh.
Thank you. This is a question for Chris Williamson. Everybody in this room agrees with the noble goal of a single Palestinian state, one state solution. I think we're clear from Ousman, your perspective, you know, nothing short of a total military conquest will achieve that. But from the Workers' Party perspective, what is your roadmap to achieving that goal?
Well, I think the first step is, of course, creating the policy out there and getting it out there that Britain's position, because in the end, it's for the Palestinian people to determine their future, as all the speakers, I think, have said. I think we have a special responsibility in this country for the reasons I've already outlined. And so I think in terms of the roadmap is to ultimately change government policy here to one that actually supports a one-state proposition. And in order to achieve that, obviously, to bring about a situation where Britain breaks off all diplomatic ties with Israel, where it implements a comprehensive BDS situation where, you know, goods from Israel are not allowed to be purchased and there'll be no exports to the country. These are things which would be within the gift of the British government, obviously, to do. To use its diplomatic influence on the United Nations, its diplomatic influence with so-called allies, particularly the United States of America, to actually make this case. But ultimately, as I've said, and as everybody has, I think, agreed on the panel, as I've just pointed out, it has to be for the Palestinian people to determine the shape of the end goal in that sense. But I think what we have an obligation, though, to do is to set out our position in the UK to push for a particular outcome that is ultimately going to be in the hands of the Palestinian people. I think that's probably all that we can do. But if we were able to do some of those things, it would be incredibly powerful. I mean, Britain is still a very influential state on the world stage. And, were we to have a situation where we had a government, I mean, look how the Zionists responded to the potential of Jeremy Corbyn becoming the Prime Minister. And I think Jeremy at that point in time was still advocating, he may still be a two-state proposition, but because of his advocacy for the Palestinian cause, it was unconscionable that he could ever be allowed to cross the threshold of 10 Downing Street, because they saw the significance, the symbolic significance, I think, of such a person being in that powerful position. So if we were able to create the circumstances where we're to do the things I've set out, that would be enormously powerful, and I think that would go a long way to assisting the Palestinian people to achieve their ultimate goal.
Right. Does that answer your question, yeah? Okay. Anybody else got a question? Come on.
What does the panel think about the fact that next week, the 18th of September, is arriving, and that's the deadline that the ICJ gave the Israelis to finish the genocide? And last weekend I listened to a talk called LifelineForPalestine.com, which is trying to make a movement together with all the workers across the world to bring about a peace settlement.
Who's that aimed at? Or is that to the whole panel, that question?
Anybody, yeah.
Okay.
Can I have a stab at it?
Yes, of course, brother.
Well, this is very important what you've just mentioned. The 18th of September, what happened actually is last year there was an advisory opinion of the International Court of Justice, which was actually years in the making, in which the International Court of Justice heard submissions from many states and made a determination confirming that Israel is an apartheid state, that it is a state based on racial domination that has kept one group of people, the Palestinians, subjugated, and another group of people honored. And I take what Abu Jenin said, it's actually very complicated in terms of the Israeli makeup because there are Palestinians there as well. So, but the point is it's an apartheid state. And they also said that the Israeli settlers, the 800,000 Israeli settlers that are occupying the West Bank and East Jerusalem must all evacuate. Right? No uncertain terms. You must get out. Get out of Palestine. Later on, in the United Nations General Assembly in September 2024, states met to decide how do we implement this decision. And they actually quite leniently, I think, on the Israeli settlers, gave them 1 year to get out, right? You've already been there for illegally decades, but administratively, let's give you 1 year to pack your bags and get out, right? What have they done? They have doubled down on the occupation and the terrorization of people in the West Bank. They have doubled down on the annexation, and even Parliament has said, we're not even recognizing the West Bank, this is all Judea and Samaria now. So what does this tell us? Israel is inherently fascist. They have got no respect whatsoever for the law, be it the International Court of Justice, the United Nations, or any other rule of law that has ever existed, because they have defied every single one of them. So we are dealing with something psychologically fucked. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. And 50% of Israelis in Israel want the full extermination of the people in Gaza. We are dealing with a people who I think need to be de-Zionized psychologically in a very intense way, if not just removed entirely for the good of humanity, right? They need to be stopped. Violence, pure violence needs to be stopped. So we have that reality now. How do we do it? When, look, the analogy, the best analogy is very simple for us to understand. A child could understand it. If we saw a person raping and beating a child on the street, and our response to that was to think, you know what, I'm not going to buy any strawberries from that man anymore. Well, okay, good. That's one way of showing him. But someone needs to grab that man, fucking knock his lights out, and get rid of what he's doing, especially when he's done it 60,000 times, right? This is an awakening we need to have. This is pure violence, Nazi violence. The same. Albert Einstein even said in 1948, these guys are the Nazis. The same ideological fixation on pure violence. So look, fuck the UN ultimately. They're not going to do anything. Right now they are debating a French-Saudi proposal which will do nothing other than entrench the occupation. The leadership is actually coming from the flotilla. They are the ones who are actually deciding enough is enough, and we're willing to risk our lives, be detained to break the siege. We need to protect them, and that's what is central to our demand. We need to be serious, send militaries now to protect the breaking of the siege, to stop the inevitable continuation of the extermination.
There are issues which I agree. For example, a film crew came they wanted to interview me. This was in the first Intifada. And I insisted that actually they only speak with the Palestinian women prisoners. I said because they are the one whose voice need to be heard. So I agree from that point of view, because that is the reality, that indeed because of Western racism, we Israelis getting the privilege of being heard, while for decades Palestinian voices were ignored, silenced, ridiculed. So it is a big issue. It's always been a difficult situation. Do I speak? Or because sometimes there is an issue that maybe my voice would be more effective, or should I, or am I in a situation where I'm taking away the voice of Palestinians? And that question is ongoing. It's always a question, how do I deal with that? There's always conflict because sorry.
We're trying to serve this Mabluba and get out of here. We have a 4-hour ride to catch, please. Please. Okay. 1 minute just to let her finish, please. Let her finish.
So that is always a concern. So that is, I accept that is an issue, and that also there used to be a tradition where you couldn't have a panel just of Palestinian, as if you needed a Jewish person or Israeli to make that panel palatable. So these are issues of Western racism which we need to deal with. It is a question. I don't take it for granted when I'm invited to speak. I take it very seriously. I see it as my responsibility to do my best to support the Palestinian. As to the issue of denouncing Israeli citizenship.
Brother. I'm just saying, if you denounce it, brother, please. Go on here.
Friends of mine in the 1970s, they did actually an act of burning the Israeli passport. So that was a political act. So one has to decide what one does, and I will take seriously advice from Palestinian. I'm meeting tomorrow a Palestinian from the Galilee, and I will raise that because Palestinian also from the Galilee, they have Israeli citizenship. So what does it mean when you denounce? So one has to think about the political implication. I have zero allegiance to Israel. I'm not because of a hesitation to denounce it. It is a political question because it's a political act.
Right. Just want to thank everybody for participating. More importantly, our panel for all their contribution. Please continue being the voice for Palestine. Please continue doing what you're doing. Every single action is something towards the end solution. And we know we are all fighting for one state, and that is a Palestine state. And also, there is some food at the back, and there is drinks at the back if people want to help themselves. Once again, thank you so much for coming out tonight. Get home safely, and we look forward to seeing you next Sunday. Thank you so much.
In the 1970s, a group of anti-Zionist activists did denounce their Israeli citizenship, and they actually did the symbolic fact of burning their Israeli passport. This is legitimate action that Israelis can do. But like any political action, that has to be decided when one discusses calmly and with considering the consequences, the advantages of that, and how it can be done to have a most impact, whether it is worth actually doing that. For example, it could be one of those issues that actually I could be accused that I'm deflecting from the attention of the extermination, the Holocaust that is going in Gaza, to myself, that it is self-indulgent to denounce my Israeli citizenship. I don't have a allegiance to Israel. I don't feel like I need to protect it. So that's not the issue. The issue is that whether it is the right political move. And obviously I will not agree to be bullied to do it without, and definitely not without a political analysis of what is the benefit of doing it and how it should be done.